Chapter 6, Stormy Seas. In the dark hours before dawn on June 6, 1944, 5,000 vessels of all shapes and sizes crammed the waters of the English Channel. It was the largest invasion by sea of all time. The fleet ranged from giant ships carrying 5,000 tons of cargo to small landing boats. The ships and boats seemed to be in a mass so solid one could have walked from shore to shore. More than 155,000 young soldiers filled the passenger ships. Their average age was only 22. Two out of every 10 had never even been in a battle before. The ships carried 20,000 tons of ammunition, all for the first day alone. Germans had loaded the channel with floating mines. The bombs were set to explode when a ship passed over them, but the fleet crossed safely thanks to tiny boats called minesweepers that cleared the waters earlier. 12 miles from shore, the ships stopped. Soldiers clambered down ropes into small landing boats that would carry them the rest of the way to Normandy. There were no seats inside. Men stood, squatted, or sat wherever they could. In the boats were units of soldiers who had trained together and rehearsed battle plans. Each unit included about 30 men. Every soldier had become an expert at using a certain weapon. There were machine gunners and riflemen. There were soldiers with bazookas, guns that fired exploding rockets. Some had flamethrowers, weapons that burst burning gasoline. Wire cutters had tools for slashing barbed wire traps. Mortar teams fired long range exploding shells. Each troop was a small army itself. Yet, all the power on the boats couldn't stop the terrible problems from the storm. Even getting to shore was hard. Trouble started as soon as the troops transferred to the small wooden boats. Cold, stormy seawater poured over the rims. Soaked soldiers had to use their helmets to bail out water. The choppy swells made many men seasick. A few hours earlier, the Navy had treated the troops to a hearty breakfast: steak, eggs, pork chops, ice cream, beans, and bacon. Now full stomach made the soldiers sicker than ever. It was a terrible ride to the beach, recalled squad leader Bob Slaughter in the PBS film D-Day Remembered. A tremendous tsunami swamped our boat, and the water would come over the side and just soak us and make our seasickness worse. Meanwhile, up ahead at the beaches, the stormy weather was causing problems for over 400 Allied bomber planes. They were heading into Normandy to bomb German gun posts before the ground troops came ashore. Unfortunately, thick storm clouds hid targets on the ground. Pilots had to steer by radar, which was new at the time. They feared dropping their bombs too early and destroying Allied ships in the channel. Pilots were ordered to hold their bombs until they knew for sure they were past the beaches. The bombing raids relied on exact timing. Even a 30-second delay meant bombs would miss their targets by over a mile. That's exactly what happened at Omaha Beach on D-Day. By the time Allied planes dropped their 13,000 bombs, they were well past the beaches. Most of the bombs landed in farm fields or cow pastures. Not one hit its target. The storm also ruined another D-Day plan. Heavy armed tanks were supposed to land on the beaches just ahead of the soldiers. The huge cannons would provide fire cover as the soldiers swept the beaches. Weighing several tons, the cannons were much too big for the small landing boats to carry. So the Allies had invented swimming tanks that could plow through the water under their own power. High canvas sides made the tanks look like huge covered wagons rising out of the sea. The swimming tanks had aced test runs, but they weren't built for heavy seas. 6-foot waves smashed over their sides as they approached Omaha Beach on D-Day. 27 tanks heading to Omaha sank to the bottom of the channel. 3 more became dead in the water. Only 2 made it to shore, but too late to help. That meant soldiers had to fight across the beach on their own with no cover at all.